to welcome and introduce you to Michaela Daniels and Audrey Hassan and myself, Gillian Algan, and thank our audience of 5 who are kindly here to support us. Thank you. And we'd like to talk to you about a book that we've recently reviewed by Daniel Goleman on the social intelligence. Social intelligence is the science of social interactions. Our minds are wired to be social beings, and according to Valentino Okonkwo, that as human beings, our emotions affect our actions and our decisions, and this is all fine until we can't control our emotions. And so social intelligence is the management of our emotions. We thought this was really an interesting fact, and we wanted to share how it integrates into our daily lives. I have a nursing background, and we get trained to be empathic listeners and how to relate to patients and read non-verbal communications from patients. So this is a topic close to my heart. And one would say that social intelligence is a valuable trait. So we're going to inform you about social intelligence and how it integrates into our work environment, into leadership, and also our relationship. And so firstly, I'd like to share about Samir Shakara, who wrote a study on saying social intelligence plays a crucial role in hospitals for patient care and team dynamics. And I would agree with that, because the hospital where I work has a simulation centre, and we use medical actors, and they will allow new doctors and nurses to practice these social skills of empathic listening, reading how a patient responds, what their emotions, encouraging them to talk. So I would agree that it's very important. And also Christina Diaz wrote an article about how simulation centres help to improve patient engagement, and I certainly would agree. Tracy Ashamoa suggests that teamwork and stress management for leadership in hospitals is important. And I've seen that, you know, if nurse managers take the time to invest in their teams and understand what drives them, it's said to reduce stress. And fourthly, in healthcare, of course we always talk about COVID, so I'm going to include that one too, is that how social intelligence played a role in COVID as well. You know, the nurses and doctors were wearing respirators, patients and nurses had masks on, you can't lip read, you can't read facial expressions, and so it was very frustrating. And so Christina Alexander, in her book The Year of the Nurse, was saying how frustrating it was. So it played a big role in the hospital environment. Now I'd like to pass you over to Michaela Daniels, who's going to be talking to us how social intelligence plays a role in leadership and also our relations. Michaela, please.
Thank you, Jillian. Social intelligence is an important trait to have in a leadership position. Having social intelligence helps you resolve conflict in a work environment. It gives you the benefit of active listening and empathy, open communication, and understanding one's motivation. It is important in resolving conflict, and is what I used in the past in a leadership position. Social intelligence refers to the ability to understand and navigate social situations. It involves being aware of one's emotions and those in others, and communicating effectively and empathizing with others and building positive relationships, said Sharma. I've had poor management in the past, and it's made me hate my work environment, and I noticed a big turnover rate there. Brown said, people with high social intelligence are very good listeners. Thirdly, I will share about how social intelligence affect relationships. Social intelligence has an impact on relationships. A person who has low social intelligence may have difficulty communicating with others, and they find it hard to maintain and build relationships. The key signs of social intelligence is rapport. You feel comfortable with them, and they're giving you their full attention, according to Goldman. Low social intelligence can lead to physical aggression and can have an impact on relationships. Fourthly, I will introduce Audrey, who will inform us about different things that affect our social situations and provide us with an interesting conclusion.
Thank you. As we've talked about social intelligence, I will be speaking on two main things that affect it. We can acknowledge that as technology has taken a greater role in our lives, we have been negatively affected by the role of it. It affects our social skills and with that, our social intelligence. Our phones have been proven to be one of the main causes of social anxiety. Personally, going through high school, there was so much normalized pressure to have a phone addiction. Freshman year specifically, I remember drawing away from social interactions. This made me feel isolated and my social anxiety increased. It is easy to rely on our phones as almost an escape route during social situations. It makes us want to avoid them in general. An article from the Children's Innovation Center adds that phones can be used almost as a security blanket, providing only temporary relief from social anxiety. When we avoid social interactions, we lose the opportunities to develop things like coping skills, increased empathy, and conversation skills. It affects our generation when we decide that it's easier to pull out our phones instead of going through a social interaction. The second factor is that children who've experienced past trauma react to social situations differently than those who are raised in a healthy household. The National Institute of Health says that based on studies, traumatic experiences in childhood can hinder the growth of emotional intelligence. When we think about how our parents have taught us in the past, we can probably infer that we still follow their advice today. Some of us have had the opportunity to have good examples and role models in our life. Not everyone, though, has had this and are still dealing with outcomes of having bad examples in their lives. In conclusion, social intelligence is a valuable trait. We've talked in detail today about how social intelligence impacts our culture, our management, our leadership, our healthcare, and how different things can affect it. As we balance a life where social interaction is essential, we can recognize that social intelligence is extremely significant. Although things can affect it, we can fight to improve and realize that without social intelligence, we would be lost as a culture and a generation. Thank you for listening.